Well, I have this incredible young lady here. I have Mr. Doumani with me. She's absolutely amazing. And talk about Vegas. Of course, this is Vegas Live with Ninon. I'm Ninon, your host. And when you talk about Vegas, this is truly, you are an amazing woman. Can I mention that you actually were owner of the Tropicana Hotel?
Yes, that's right.
I loved it. She was actually the owner of the Tropicana Hotel. And I'm going to ask you a question. Across the way, there was a land and everything. Did you ever know who owned that land?
Now, which land?
That
is
was
it?
the land on
The Excalibur?
yes, where the Excalibur is.
No, I did not know.
There was an actor, I forget his name now, but there was an actor owned that land, and because of your hotel, he was able to sell that land. I think he sold it for something like $4 million or something at that time. At that time,
Yes.
we're going back quite a long time. At that time, that was a lot of money, but you know, that, he was a gambler as well,
Yes,
obviously,
yes.
and that made him. So you were a cowboy, a cowgirl,
Yes,
to a showgirl.
right. I grew up in San Fernando Valley, Van Nuys, Southern
I
California.
know it well.
And we had horses. My father raised horses. That was his passion.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me a pony when I was 5 years old for Christmas, Daisy Bell. And
Daisy
I
Bell,
grew
isn't that
up
lovely?
riding. We had our own tennis court. I was either on a horse, a tennis court, or dancing.
So your father wanted to keep you busy. He certainly didn't want you with anybody else.
That's right.
He kept you home,
That's right.
which was the old days. That's how we used to do it in the
Yes.
old days. Keep the kids at home and
Yes.
keep them occupied with different
That's
things.
right.
So what brought you to Vegas? Because you
Well, I went to USC, and my father wanted me to be a court reporter. He was a tax attorney. And I went to USC for 2 years, and I went to the Moulin Rouge and auditioned for a show.
now, did your father know you were doing that?
No.
I didn't think so.
I
You probably would have
devastated
had a
both
heart
of my
attack.
parents, yes. They did not want their daughter in show business. But I got in the show, and I never looked back. I had the most fabulous time.
Now, did obviously your parents eventually knew you were in the show?
Oh, yes.
And they could not disapprove because you were already in it.
Yes. My
This is
father,
this is your
yes, my
passion.
father said, whatever you need or want, I will give you, you know.
So
So I knew.
you took advantage of that.
Yes.
Good for
So,
you.
no, but they gave me their blessings, I guess. But
Yeah.
it was wonderful.
Any
And
sisters and brothers?
I have 2 older sisters, and we all took tap, ballet, and piano. My mother was a concert pianist.
Oh, wow.
And so my first opera, I was 6 years old, Aida. So I grew up with the opera and all the light opera and the horses.
Wow.
I love the opera and I love Willie Nelson and all the country.
You love
classic
everything,
country.
yeah? You like all
Yes.
that. So then when you were the cowboy, then you went into the cowgirl, and then you went into the show business. That was a big transition of 2 completely different things.
Yes. But I remember in San Francisco, I worked in this beautiful club called Bimbo 365 Club. It was very famous. And I would rent a horse and ride during the day. I remember riding under the Golden Gate Bridge on the
Wow.
sand. And then go to the dressing room, put stage makeup on. I did that here in Las Vegas. They had a ranch called the Daydream Ranch. It was at Warm Springs and Eastern. And I used to go out there and rent a horse and ride and then go to the show at night.
So how did you become involved in the Tropicana?
Well, I got married. I married a man that he went to USC also. And what he promised me, right next to this pepper mill, there's the land between the pepper mill and the Riviera.
Yes.
And we owned that land, and we built the La Concha Motel, which is now the lobby.
Talk about history.
Which is now the lobby for the Neon Museum. And we built the El Morocco, which was right next door to the pepper mill. And in fact, we owned the land on the pepper mill.
So you own this land. Well, we're sitting. Actually, I had to tell you,
Right.
you're sitting in Elvis Presley's booth. This is where Elvis Presley sat all the time. So we're both quite honoured sitting here. And we probably both knew him quite well.
Yes.
Did you? I'm sure you knew him.
I did. You know, I'll tell you my story. I toured with Gypsy Rose Lee. Have you heard of Gypsy
I've
Rose?
heard of Gypsy Rosalie. Who
Right.
has not heard of Gypsy Rosalie?
Well,
Amazing woman.
I was touring. I was in 3 production numbers. And Gypsy had 4 girls in her act, and one had to leave. So they asked me to be in her act.
You
And
seem to be in the right place at the right time for everything.
You know-
How lucky is that?
I was at the right
You
place
were.
at the right time. So I toured with her. We went all up and down the West Coast. And then I had a boyfriend that took a yacht over to Hawaii, the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race. So I flew over there, and I fell in love with Hawaii. And I stayed there. And I met
Which
Elvis,
island?
Oahu, but I danced in, I was in a rodeo in Maui, and I danced on every island except Molokai. And when I got over there and I fell in love with the islands, I thought they don't have production shows, I have to work. And so I got a job as a secretary to the owner of the Halekulani Hotel.
Wow. Because that was one of the original old hotels.
Yes,
was
it
very,
was.
Wasn't it also all in pink or something? It was a
No, that's the Royal Hawaiian.
Oh, the Royal Hawaiian. Okay.
Yes,
So this one,
the Halekulani. And I took all of his dictation. I ran his office for the hotel.
so you learned a lot.
Yes, well, I did
learned
in
a lot about
school.
hotels.
I was very good at typing and shorthand and everything. And then they opened a club called the Orchid Room right on Waikiki Beach for dancers. And I went there and said, yes, I can dance. Of course, I was a showgirl and production manager.
So you were
So,
perfect.
I made up a dance as I went along. And
Typical.
Eddie Sherman, who wrote for the Honolulu Advertiser, wrote the next day, she left the audience gasping. And I have that article.
Oh, how
And I worked during the day, and I danced at night. And I remember when I was 14 years old, I said, I'll do what my father wants me to do. I'm going to be a secretary, but at night, I'm going to dance. Well, I did that for about 3 months. And I gave up the day job and just stayed.
I know what you did.
It was
Gave up
too
the day
much,
job.
9 to 5, and then.
Well, yes, but you wanted to
and
do what
then
your
about
dream
3 in the
was.
morning.
Yes, what
so-
you really enjoyed.
And it was wonderful. And that's where I met Elvis Presley in
Yes,
Hawaii.
because he had his famous performance out there.
Yes, and he was doing a concert there and making a movie.
So were you actually in that concert? You were the fame, because when he was over there, this became very famous. This
Yes,
Hawaiian.
no, I watched him.
Oh, you
I
watched him?
watched him, yes.
Oh, how beautiful. Did you get to meet him?
Oh, yes, I did.
I'm jealous. I am
Quite-
so
for quite a
jealous.
long time.
I'm jealous. Really? Uh-oh.
Yes.
Are we talking about dating?
Yes,
You dated him? Oh
Yes.
my goodness, you're now sitting in his booth. Funny I brought it up.
that really is, yes.
And how was he to date? I mean, he was quite
You
young
know,
then.
He was a
You
wonderful.
too.
He was a wonderful young man. This is before he went into the army, and his mother was alive. And he was one that there were no drugs, there was no alcohol. He was
He
charming.
was just he. He was
yes,
just nothing.
he was a
just
simple country boy
singing.
that was very refined.
Really?
People don't know that.
No, they unfortunately no, they
Yes.
don't. And did your mother and father meet him?
No, strictly in Hawaii.
Strictly in Hawaii. So
But I did see him here when, but I was married.
so that was kind of over.
Yes.
But it was a beautiful episode actually
Yes,
in your
it
life. How beautiful. That sounds
A nice
absolutely.
experience.
So then back to the Tropicana. So then you met.
Well, I met the man I married in Hawaii, between shows when I was here in Hollywood. And then he saw me in the shows here. I also did Tahitian and flamenco. I had another life.
This is what you call an amazing
I had
woman.
long
She's
dark
kind of done
hair.
it all.
I had long dark hair in those days, but I had a contract for Japan. With my own show, and I went to Japan, and that's where I met Frank Sinatra.
That must be one of the original shows going to Japan at that time, because they were starting to go there then.
Yes, well, I had
So
my
you were
own
one of the
show.
originals.
I had my own show, Universal Productions, and the man I worked for, Dan Sawyer, lives right here, and he lives near me, and he was head of the productions
In Japan.
with Tom Ball Productions, yes.
Okay.
And that's I met Frank Sinatra in Tokyo. Of all
Did you
places.
date him?
No,
Okay.
but he
You've got to
was-
catch up with that dating.
No, I didn't. But he gave me his limousine to drive around Tokyo.
Oh, how one. Oh.
But,
They say he was a very gracious man, and
he was a
very,
real
and he
gentleman.
gave a lot away.
Yes, and
Yeah.
years later, in Las Vegas, he went on the Frank Rosenthal television show with me, to help me raise money for a home for abused and battered children.
Oh, how beautiful.
He was very generous and very kind.
I was fortunate enough, I met him like you did, and I had a wonderful conversation with him. I was very honored to have that conversation. It was up at his house up at Oakland, and just a charming man, charming.
Yes, well, I met him through Jimmy Van Houston, the songwriter.
Yeah.
And they were lifelong friends. And I had met Jimmy. He was a friend of my father's, a friend of my father's friends.
Yeah.
So that's why they looked me
So
up.
I was going to say, so because of your family, you were able to sort of meet all these people because you had the fabulous background.
Yes.
But I want to get a little bit to what you're doing now because I understand that you're actually caring for animals now. You have a
I always have.
advocate for animals. That's what it sounds like because of the horses. So now you have, what is it, a foundation you have or what is it?
No, but I support 22 animal foundations across the country, from New York all the way. They found my number.
They found out. I wonder how they found you.
Right, and donkey rescue and everything, from wildlife to dogs, everything that exists.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a vegetarian. I have to say that.
That's okay. That's okay.
I believe all life is sacred.
I agree, and I think we need to spread that word around a little bit more. You've been amazing. I know that you've got a few things coming up, and I'm not going to mention them, but she's got a couple of things coming up, and whatever they are, they sound very prominent, they sound very good. But I know, unless you want to mention it.
Well, I would like to.
Would you like to mention it?
Yes.
I don't know if I can, because we had a telephone call beforehand, and I don't know if I should mention the documentary or not, but obviously I can.
Well, yes. I'll tell you, 2 years ago, the Italian American Club had the Nevada Opera there. And the Nevada Opera asked me to say what inspired me to be a dancer and a showgirl.
Sure, because your father didn't like it.
Right. And so, I told them the story, and then when I got through, I walked off and I came back and I said one more thing. I was a cowgirl before I was a showgirl.
And that clinched it.
Yes, well, Don Dino, he's a very well-known singer-songwriter here, had his wife Donna write that down, and he wrote a country song.
Oh, how
Now, Don Dino was born in Italy and moved to Brooklyn when he was 9 years old. And
big difference.
And he wrote a beautiful country song.
Wasn't that when they used to call the Italians the wops? They called them the wops. The wops were without papers.
Right, that's right. But this was much more recent.
Yes. So he had his papers.
Right, he did. And he wrote a country song, and we did a country dance to this. Rich Rizzo, a choreographer, choreographed a dance. And this one lady saw this, and she said, you should make a documentary about showgirls and horses. And so Don Dino and Donna have written this beautiful documentary. And we have 2 showgirls that were in the El Rancho Vegas show in 1949. One was
We're really going back.
Yes, one was Nancy Williams, who had Williams costumes. She just passed away 2 months ago. She's in it, and another friend, Gloria White, of the White Sisters. They'll be dancing in there. It's a history of Vegas, this documentary.
And it sounds like it's a history of Vegas, but if we all remember our history,
Yes.
that we always have the showgirls, the gorgeous, glamorous showgirls that you don't really see now. You see a lot of the hip hop, a lot of the other. But I'm into change, so I don't mind the change. But I remember that always these gorgeous, glamorous showgirls, and like yourself. I mean, you must have been absolutely a number one out there. But you seem to have got every job you went after. But you seem to have got it before you even went after
I
it.
did. I just went in from one to the other. But the showgirls were very glamorous.
Yes.
In those days, Vegas was small, and the shows were magnificent.
Yes.
And the music was magnificent. We would pay to be in the show, let alone get paid. But Las Vegas was different then. And the showgirls really helped build Las Vegas.
Well, it sort of came all in together. The showgirls, everything all came together with the Frank Sinatras, the Dean Martins, and all these.
Yes.
All this sort of came together. We had the big extravaganzas, and times change, which we don't have now. We have different things now. I don't know what they are, but we have other different. I think it's more of a nightclub thing now.
It's different.
Yeah, it's different, and that's
Everything
fine.
has
Yes,
changed.
it is changed. But I love. So this documentary is also going to be coming out soon or
Yes,
whenever.
it should be at the end of this year. They should have
it
it
together.
premiere.
So we're looking forward to that. We'll have you on again if we can, and maybe a couple of the showgirls or one or two or whatever we can have. I'd love to have them on.
My roommate, when I toured with Gypsy Rose Lee, was one of my dearest friends.
Well, we'll have her on. We'll have them all on.
Yes.
Well, whoever you want on, we'll have them on, and then we'll promote your documentary for you. We'd love to do that.
Thank you.
But thank you. I wasn't sure whether I should mention the documentary because there's a little bit of, other people are doing it, and I don't want to tread on anybody's toes because what I do in Vegas, I promote Vegas and what's going on in it, and so I'm promoting this young lady because what she's done, I mean, from Cowgirl to Showgirl is amazing. And this is when we had all those incredible extravaganza shows that were amazing. Yes. I can remember the girls would come out, I don't know how much they all weighed, but they used to have these great big hats, all these feathers, and then they'd have feathers all around them, and they walk out all elegant. See? Well, I don't know if we can put this up. Oh, look at this. I don't know if we can show that. And also then there's when she was the cowgirl.
And that's down the strip here.
That's on the strip here. Absolutely. Isn't she amazing? Isn't she wonderful? Vegas Live with Ninon. We'll be right back.